Katsuki's day was not going well. For starters, he'd stubbed his toe on every available surface in the dorms, been subjected to being Minetta's hiding place, and gotten covered by Mina's acid because of it. And worst of all, lost a sparring match to Deku. And though Katsuki couldn't prove it, he was convinced that every single aggravating thing that had happened to him had been yours and Ejiro's fault. That morning, you and Ejiro had ditched him, claiming to have important personal things to take care of. You had said something about homework you wanted to get done, which Katsuki knew was a lie. He knew you were basically a champion procrastinator, and it would be more likely to catch you doing math than present Mike's English assignment early. Ejiro's reason for a personal day had been more believable, at least. He'd said he was going to get a tub of protein shake powder, though when Katsuki had offered to come with him, he'd hurriedly declined. He ranted off about how he thought it would be more manly to pick it up himself. Ejiro, who was nearly always attached to Katsuki's or your hip, suddenly wanted to do things on his own, and it irked Katsuki. But it wasn't just today. This strange behavior had been going on for the past few weeks. While Katsuki tried to blow it off, he felt lonely without the both of you nagging at his side, but convinced himself he was fine. He'd been fine before the two of you, and he'd be fine without you as well. Yet, in his brief moments of melancholy, he couldn't help but feel you were both avoiding him. Needless to say, everything had set him on edge. He was a bomb of condensed frustration and apprehension, shaking his leg like a bunny thumping, and waiting to be set off. He'd had the idea to relax in the dorms by mid-afternoon, though between Dunceface's lame-ass jokes and Tapearm's obnoxious laughing, he was afraid to stay any longer, not wanting to risk being convicted for manslaughter. What was it his therapist said? Walks are relaxing? And that's how Katsuki found himself marching down a random path outside the dorms, purposely stamping on branches to get the satisfaction of their snap. The walk was not working like he'd hoped. His thoughts wandered back to you and Ejiro, and each one zoomed through his mind at a speed that could rival Deku's mutterings. Were you both together and just didn't want him around? Were you avoiding him? Had he done something to make the both of you mad and couldn't figure out what? Katsuki growled in frustration and aimed his explosive fist at a sturdy tree on his right. Why couldn't you both just tell him if you had a problem with him, instead of this roundabout bullshit? Was it too much to ask that this love shit was more straightforward and not having to solve some complex jigsaw puzzle of emotions? Oh, what do we have here? Property damage? Should I report you? Great, Katsuki thought. Just what he needed. The fucking eccentric from Class B. Monoma. Fuck off, copycat. Mind your business, Katsuki snarled, turning his back on him. He planned to ignore Monoma, but the other blonde seemed to want his face cracked in, because he followed Katsuki. Where's your partners? He asked inquisitively. Aren't they always with you? Katsuki rolled his eyes. We're not always together. Monoma laughed mockingly. No, you all are sickeningly attached to each other. It's actually rather strange you're all alone. One could almost assume they'd broken up with you. Katsuki tightened his fist at the thought, and Monoma cackled crassly. Finally got some common sense and dumped you, huh? Katsuki growled, swinging around to grab Monoma by the collar of his shirt. His anger amplified at Monoma's smug smirk. Oh, am I right? Katsuki's crimson eyes pierced into Monoma's grey ones, not finding malice. Rather, he was observing Katsuki, gauging his reaction, and Katsuki almost groaned at how easily he'd been baited. Monoma was likely attempting to work on his goading skills, and Katsuki was an effortless target to test on. Katsuki shoved him back roughly, set on putting some distance between him and the other blonde. The Class B dweebs were not worth his time. Monoma stumbled back a little, before righting himself and his clothes. It was only a matter of time, he said, matter-of-factly. I mean, who could date you? You're like the personification of all bad things in the world. And those two are like God-sent angels. He shrugged. It was doomed from the start. The rage rushed through Katsuki's bloodstream, straight to his fists, and he was about to swing. But then the words really hit him, plowed into his brain, and planted little seedlings of doubt in his mind. Was that what this was? Were you and Ejiro gearing up to break up with him? Were you distancing yourself to make it easier? Monoma sauntered off at Katsuki's pause. Don't worry, Bakugou. They'll be better off without you. They'll be better off without you. Those words sunk so deep into his heart and hurt like it cut off the blood flow. Katsuki couldn't help but wonder if the idiot from Class B was right. He couldn't say how long he stood there, long enough for the sun to touch the horizon and for his residual anger to freeze over in his chest. Only then did his feet begin to drag him back to the dorms, up the elevator and into his room. His thoughts whirling and frenzied under his skull, adding more and more pressure with every bit of doubt and insecurity, until finally he burst. Fuck that. He was Bakugou fucking Katsuki. He was not going to wait around to be broken up with. If you two fuckwads were going to break up with him, you'd better not be cowards and do it already. Katsuki leaped up, a new fury igniting and pushing him out the door, and up to your room. He didn't bother to knock, charging in with fist tight and mouth open. But the words he'd been poised to say died on his tongue, at the sight before him. You and Ejiro were asleep, and true to Monoma's earlier words, looked like angels. The evening sun filtered beams of precious orange into your room, bathing you both in gold. You were on your back, with Ejiro laying snugly at your chest, tucked between your legs. Both of you were in random articles of comfy clothes. Papers were scattered all around the bed. A few fluttered off as you shifted. Katsuki stood there at the dreamlike image of the two people he loved and found himself oddly calm. If the both of you appear so tranquil and transcendent, how could he not be at peace? Even if this perfect picture did not include him. Katsuki approached the bed, careful as he did not to disturb the dream. He was curious as to why there were so many loose pages, like a tornado had ransacked the room. Your one hand flung out and holding your unlocked phone caught his eye. Inquisitively, Katsuki leaned down and read the open chat. It was a conversation between you and someone named Cake Lady. You. And can you make the cake spicy chocolate? Cake Lady. Well, that might be a little extra considering it's a rare flavor. You. That's alright, I'll pay extra. Cake Lady. Alright then, great. We'll have it ready for the 20th to be picked up. You. Awesome. Do you think you would be able to put Great Lord Explosion Murder Dynamite on it? Cake Lady. What? Katsuki turned to the pages, picking up one at random. It was a rough sketch of a layout. He could just make out the dorm room, but with decorations. Another page had a list of party supplies. Another with a list reading outside dorm invite list. Another with a brainstorm of gift ideas. On it, there was a little thought bubble with an untidy scribble, grenade launcher, that was crossed out. A little note underneath with slightly neater writing said, he is a walking grenade launcher. Katsuki huffed, feeling his energy drain and exhaustion replace it. He dropped into your chair with mild annoyance and reluctant fondness. He'd spent the entire day on edge, stressing about what the both of you were up to, only to find this. You and Ejiro were not planning on breaking up with him. You both were planning his birthday party. Katsuki felt silly for having jumped to conclusions and forgetting to consider his own birthday as a factor in your weird behavior. Exhaling his exasperation, he got off the chair and walked to the door. He just opened it when a sleepy voice called to him. Katsuki? He turned to find you blinking blearily at him. You smiled drowsily, your eyes glimmering in a half-asleep mirth. Come join us. How could he have doubted that? I'll be right there, Katsuki replied softly. Your eyebrows scrunched adorably, starting to sit up, but effectively pinned down by the red bear that was Ejiro. Is something wrong? Katsuki's heart warmed, and he walked back to you. He brings his hand to your face, coasting his thumb against your cheek as you lean in. He urges you back to relax, and pressing his lips to your hairline. There's nothing wrong. I just got something to do real quick, and I'll be back. Go back to sleep. With his fingers buried in your hair, He circles them in slow, soothing motions. The repeated movement had your eyes fluttering closed, and a lazy smile inhabiting your mouth. Okay, you mumble, sinking into the covers and wrapping your arms around Ejiro on instinct, like he was an oversized teddy bear. Considering Ejiro hadn't moved in this entire exchange, you'd think he was just an inanimate object. Katsuki waited until your breath evened before he headed out of the room. Oi, wake up! Katsuki shouts as he re-enters your room. You are now laying on your stomach, with Ejiro's head on your lower back, looking as though he was hugging your butt, and honestly, living his best life. Katsuki scowled, feeling a tinge of jealousy. He wondered how you'd even managed to turn with Ejiro's weight on you. Neither of you moved as he'd set the tray he'd carried up onto your desk. Oi! Katsuki yells louder. You squeeze your eyes shut and then tentatively open one enough to see through it. You eye Katsuki, then open the other and swivel to look to Ejiro, then back. You lift yourself on your elbows, rubbing your eyes. What you got there, Katsuki? Food, Katsuki states, and you become a little more awake. You shift side to side like you are doing a plank twist, trying to wake Ejiro. You whine. Katsuki made food, and like the flesh bag of rocks he was, he didn't budge. Katsuki picks up a bowl and moved it right under his nose. Ejiro's nose twitched before he snuffed and then slowly sat up, following the scent with his eyes closed. Figures, I'm dating a bloodhound instead of a human, Katsuki scoffed, handing the bowl to Ejiro when he finally opened his eyes. Ejiro smiled. And you love me anyway. Katsuki rolled his eyes, not denying it. What's the occasion? You ask curiously, as Katsuki hands you your bowl. Katsuki shrugged. I always make food for you idiots. Ejiro paused in a bite he was about to take, and you both share a look. True, he says, but never in bed. Yeah, you say amused. Most of the time you force us out 'cause we're, in your words, lazy-ass leeches. Ejiro giggles, but something about the statement rubs Katsuki the wrong way. He snaps. I want you to do something nice. Is that so out of character for me that you have to ask so many damn questions? When both your smiles drop, and you're staring at him with matching shocked expressions, he realizes he may have overreacted a little. The silence was stifling, and Katsuki couldn't stand it. He slammed his bowl down, crossing his arms, and sulked at the door. Forget it. He could feel your eyes on him, and heard when a bowl was being set down. Katsuki, you say gently, we didn't mean to upset you. This is a very nice gesture. Thank you. Did something happen? Kirishima asked cautiously. You can always talk to us, you know. Katsuki huffed, feeling another spike of annoyance about how kind both of you were being. It just further proved Monoma's point. You both were angels, and he was the evil demon sucking up your goodness. It's not a big deal, Katsuki struggled out. You shift away from Ejiro and pat the empty space. Anything that affects you is a big deal to us. Ejiro nodded beside you, imploring Katsuki with his stupidly adorable puppy eyes. Katsuki groans dramatically, but shoves his pride down and takes the spot between you two. He falls back with a large thump for added effect. You and Ejiro smile down at him, projecting only love and patience. This time, the silence wasn't so stifling, but helped Katsuki gather his thoughts and patted down his irritability. I ran into Monoma today, Katsuki began. He was mouthing off about stuff. I think it got under my skin more than I liked. You plopped down, leaning your head on his hand, your other hand reaching out to play with the whispers of hair above his neck. What did he say? The subtle touch was encouraging and small enough not to feel overwhelming or pitying. Katsuki just came out and said what was bothering him. He said that you two were going to leave me and some shit. You suck in a sharp breath and Ejiro growls lowly. Oh, he's dead. Ejiro is halfway to getting up when Katsuki yanks him down to join you both on the bed. You think I can't kill my own creeps? Sit down. I'm telling you two out of courtesy, not because I need you guys to be some kind of protection squad, you hear? Ejiro and you share a look. Katsuki swore he could see plans for murder being communicated in the air between your intense gazes. But when you finally look to him, you ask politely, "One punch?" Katsuki exhales, exasperated and a little drained from admitting his feelings. He rolls over, shoving his face into the soft covers. I don't know, we'll see what's left of him after I'm done with him. Fine, fine, you say. But Katsuki, we'd never leave you. We love you. Yeah, bro, who else is going to feed us like you do? Ow! It was a joke. I told you to stop calling me bro, Katsuki snaps. Yeah, but we really do love you, Ejiro says and tops it by promptly crushing Katsuki with his body and snaking his arms around his waist. Oi, get off, Katsuki says, weakly attempting to push him away. You're fucking heavy. No, Ejiro says stubbornly. Pebble, join in the smothering. You giggle. Roger that. You collapse on Katsuki's other side, still laughing as a breath is forced out of his lungs. You're suffocating me. With love, Ejiro states cheerily. Katsuki huffs and squirms enough to shift onto his back. He stares at the tops of both of your heads as you nuzzle into his chest. Despite the weight, he felt a lot lighter than he had all day. I guess I love you both too, he mumbles. We know, Katsuki, you say content. You don't have to say it. We see it in your actions. Doesn't mean we don't love hearing it though, Ejiro said, squeezing. Katsuki smacked his head. Alright, oi, stop that. Now both of you get off. The food is getting cold. Come on, move. And what's with all these papers? Are you always such a slob? Katsuki tried to hide his smile as the both of you bolt upright and scurry around the room, snatching papers and squashing most of them in desperation. Oh, this was for a project, you say hurriedly. You know, that project. Project? Katsuki asks innocently. I don't remember a project. What class? Recovery girl, Ejiro pipes up. Katsuki catches the look of disbelief on your face and had to try his hardest not to start laughing. Yes, you cover, still semi-glaring at Ejiro, who shoots you a contrite look. She asked us to help her with some things. You grab the last of the pages and shove them into the desk drawer. Nothing important. You all settle to eat, but soon after the last bites disappear from your bowls, Ejiro and you pull Katsuki into a cuddle puddle. He complained about it, but didn't even attempt to move away. You and Ejiro ensured that Katsuki was the center of attention. After all, it was his birthday month. The next day would find Monoma strung up high on the school's flagpole. How he got there would remain a mystery to UA High School.